Welcome, welcome. C2 Wrestling Royal Rumble post-show review discussion. What an event, man. Top to bottom. The Royal Rumble, it hits every time. Even when it doesn't hit, it's still the Royal Rumble. It still hits. But this pay-per-view, this PLE, oh, it hit big time. Top to bottom. Incredible, man. I mean, we'll get
Top
to it,
to bottom.
but we got to hit the yeet for our guy. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start with that women's rumble. What'd you think?
It was one of the better women's rumbles.
Yeah.
It was just the ending not only was predictable but felt flat that it
Mm-hmm.
it kind of it can only such a little amount can make you forget about 50 something minutes of good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was like one of the better women's rumbles. I thought the surprises were solid. They made sense. It's just the ending was just Charlotte winning isn't a shock.
Mm-hmm.
She was the clear favorite, but it's like the last thing you remember is a flat ending, and then it dragged on after that.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it definitely did.
So,
It's
yeah,
definitely on the better side of women's rumbles, and I said this during our live show that there was nothing maybe like super electric during it, but there wasn't anything bad necessarily. Um, Charlotte winning does nothing for me, if I'm being honest. We've been on the wave of saying that Charlotte Tiffany at WrestleMania is the match to have, though. So it makes sense. Charlotte was winning the Rumble, or she was winning the Chamber, or something along those lines to get into the title match at WrestleMania. So predictable, a bit. Predictability is good when it's done right. It's okay here. Again, it's a little flat, maybe, but I guess it could have been worse. Charlotte moves on. I just have to say, I do not want her to win the title at WrestleMania, even though I am pretty damn confident she's gonna.
yeah. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
get ready to learn woo, buddy. She's definitely
yeah,
winning that title,
yeah.
and it's gonna be ugly.
It's gonna be ugly. Yeah, Tiffany is one of the more over women in the company right now. I think having her just lose to Charlotte, people are going to run the course over Charlotte winning 100 titles, wins everything she's ever in. And, to a point, I get it sometimes. And I do agree. I know she hasn't been around in a while. So Charlotte is a little bit more fresh right now, but it still is kind of the same old story. Charlotte did not need to win the NXT championship however many years ago. The story becomes a little tiresome. I think you have the opportunity to get Tiffany on that upper echelon of superstars. And she's already a world champion, don't get me wrong. But, a Mania win over Charlotte brings you to new heights.
For sure. And look, Tiffany losing to Charlotte, does it hurt her? In a weird way, yes. Like normally I would say no,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're losing to names like Charlotte, the Cenas, the Romans, and stuff like that, we say it doesn't hurt someone. It does kind of hurt someone when it comes to losing to Charlotte because fans will kind of have more of that like disgruntlement about it. Like I don't think Tiffany losing to Charlotte does the usual like fans are going to get even more behind them now like it normally
Mm-hmm.
does. I kind of think back to when Asuka faced Charlotte at Mania and she was undefeated and Charlotte beat her. And Charlotte was
Yeah.
the first one to beat her. And it didn't, I get that was a different era, but it didn't give that like emotional grab to Asuka, like, oh my God, I need to get behind her for her to avenge this loss. It kind of gave that, oh, well, Charlotte wins again. So I'm afraid that
Yeah.
might end up happening if Charlotte beats Tiffany.
And here's the big thing this time around Charlotte's not the champion. Tiffany's the champion going in, so that's more reason for that kind of build to not be the same if Tiffany were to lose. I think she'll lose a little steam if she loses. The Jey Uso story, he's lost a couple title matches, but you keep kind of having him lose a few and it builds him up. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. And he'll finally do it. With Tiffany, she already did it. So having her lose the match, that build back isn't quite the same. I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route. If Charlotte does win and then Tiffany gets the match again at SummerSlam or something and wins the belt back, which is fine in a way. You know, I'm all for these superstars having multiple accolades under their belt, 2, 3, 4, 5 times champions. But I just really need to reiterate that Charlotte does not need to win this match at WrestleMania.
No, no.
Assuming we are assuming that she faces Tiffany, but I don't see any other avenue.
Yeah, I know her and Rhea are 1-1 at Mania. I don't see them running it back for a third time,
Don't need it.
especially for when like this would really help Tiffany. This would
Yeah.
propel Tiffany really into that next level of stardom. Like Rhea doesn't need that marquee matchup. You know, at 39, Rhea could use it. It made it,
Yeah.
nice. She don't need it now. Rhea is the star. So yes, it would be a marquee match, but it's better to help the other one. And both matches are big instead of one monstrous match and one kind of lacking match. The big match that we, or not match, the big moment that we kind of have to mention, Roxanne Perez being final two is awesome.
Yeah, not only final two, she's the longest lasting woman, I believe, in any woman's rumble. I believe it was like a hour, 7 minutes, and 41 seconds. And I know that exactly because the person I had in the pool lasted an hour, 7 minutes, and was not the longest lasting. But it's great for Roxanne. You know, Roxanne is in that field of, you know, future Money in the Bank, future Rumble winner, multi-time champion. Roxanne is still what, like 14 years old? I don't even know at this point. She's as young as could be. She's got so much time, and you know they're kind of fast tracking her. So it's crazy to see. Great spot for Roxanne to be in. You know, this is if I'm going to nitpick a little bit. Charlotte, I think, would have been better suited for the Rumble, or sorry, the Chamber win. And, you know, I don't really know where they're going with Rhea, who Rhea's going to face, but I feel like whoever that's going to be would have been the better choice to win this Rumble, whether it be Io or Jordan Grace, like I was saying I wanted. You know, I understand she's not maybe as much of a name to the casual WWE fans, but, you know, you still want to do something crazy. That's your crazy moment right there. Leads me to wonder where they go at Rhea. Who does Rhea face?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Grace isn't impossible.
No, not at all.
Um,
They got time to build her now to the chamber, things like that. Yeah.
True. Like that'd be great. Since J1, I do also think you're not having the same brand. Get both Rumble winners.
Rumbles, yeah.
Last year had the same brand, Cody and Bailey on
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown. Year before was Rhea and Cody, but there was only one title for
Title, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so a little different. But yes, the makes sense. Not not thrilled about the other options for
Mm,
Rhea if it isn't Jordan Grace. Maybe it's Alexa Bliss. There's history there. That's not
yeah,
impossible. If they go off of like Rumble eliminations, maybe Bliss faces Liv Morgan in a big marquee women's match. I don't know. Not every Mania feud gets set up from Rumble eliminations, but yeah, who else really makes sense
yeah,
for Rhea? I mean, maybe EO wins the chamber. It could be EO.
yeah.
Could be a
EO,
multi-person.
we still might get Becky back, and maybe they run it back again. I don't know. Not that Ray is a lost puppy, but the storyline with Ray is a little bit of like a lost puppy right now. I'm kind of questioning where they go with that. You know, and it falls back again to the Charlotte win. I think whoever won the Rumble could have been Ray's opponent, and you have a little bit more of a story there because Charlotte can win the Chamber and go against Tiffany. It all makes sense. However, you get Charlotte versus Tiffany. You know, I don't want to be the guy to say it, but I feel like the Charlotte win is forgettable. I feel like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you're not often going to look back at the time Charlotte won that Royal Rumble. She's the first woman to win two. I get it and all, but not the craziest of fan about it, if I'm being honest.
Before we get to the tag match,
Mm-hmm.
we've really skipped over the biggest moment of the women's match.
Yeah, what was that?
You can look, but you can't touch.
I should have known it was
Keep
coming. Yeah.
dreaming on the stars above. Do, 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 do. The GOAT, baby.
You know, so we did get a Nikki Bella return. I'd like to imagine it's a return, and it wasn't just a one off. Now, Alexa Bliss, Nikki, We still might get Becky, Rhea, Io, Tiffany. There's so many women going on right now. How do you squeeze it all in? How do you get Nia on the card and Tiffany and Nikki and Ray and all this? And you're not doing multi-woman matches left and right. Nikki might be around, but I don't know if she's going to have a Mania match, if I'm being honest. If so, versus who?
Well, not only that, you got the Jade situation. We didn't get Jade tonight.
We did not get Jade
Bianca is
tonight.
gonna
Yep.
have a match. Naomi's gonna have like theirs. You have the mid card titles for the women now. We talked about this on the podcast, me and Alec, for the
Mm-hmm.
Rumble predictions. Like they are as stacked as can be in the women's division right now, where Mania is not going to be 15 matches each night, but there's going to be some names that get left off that it's just the way the cookie crumbles because there's just that many names right now.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't want to hear no crying about it. Okay, there's names left off the card every year. Wow,
That
always
being
names left
said,
off the card.
Nikki, get her a match. Nikki Rhea, book it right now.
There's always names left off the card. For better or for worse. Sometimes I get it, but I'd rather it be names not on the card than forcing them on the card. We'll see where they go, though. A lot of women, a lot of storyline options. I just don't know if they're going to be able to fit every single woman in right now.
Completely agree. Moving to the tag title
Well,
match.
well, actually, before we move to tag match again, we should also take a 25-minute intermission like they
Yes.
did tonight before the tag match. Yeah, we'll be back.
Presented by Cricket Wireless.
Listen, we have said before, like some shows go too quick into it. Good God. You could also wait too long, too. Oh, my God. It was almost Monday by the
Yeah.
time they got out of that.
Yeah, there's a happy medium, and they did not find that happy
Yeah.
medium. It was basically like a boxing event where you're waiting on the
Now,
main event for an hour.
absolutely. Now, I understand giving the crowd a little bit of a moment to kind of cool down after a Royal Rumble, but I think that's the cool down is maybe part of why the crowd wasn't super electric during that match. Because the tag match, yeah, it might have been the quickest 2 out of 3 falls ever. Still a fine match. It was a good tag match. I'm not going to lie. I expected a little bit more. DIY versus the Guns on a PLE. We've seen what DIY can do in those NXT days. If you've been watching TNA, you've seen what the Guns can do. I did expect a bit more out of it, but it was still a solid match. There's no complaints out of it. They got right to the action tonight.
No, there's a complaint.
Yeah,
There's
let's hear it. Yeah, let's
there's
hear it.
60
Yeah, let's
plus
hear it.
thousand complaints. I
What's the
don't know
complaint?
how many times I have to say it. When my Motor City Machine Guns are in the ring, every fucking person in that crowd should be doing one of two things. Should be standing on your feet, clapping and yelling, or chanting. Cricket Wireless was the sponsor of the crowd because there were fucking crickets out there. Shame on them. Shame
Yeah.
on them.
There were crickets out there. I gotta say, DIY. It was been around for a while now too. They're over. It's Motor City Machine Guns are still a little bit fresh for the WWE mind, but that was they were dead during that. And the women's rumble again just before that. It wasn't some like crazy electric match. Like it
AJ Lee
happened
didn't return.
exactly. It's not like there was something that knocked the wind out of your sails. Like they were pretty dead during that match. So I feel like the match is going to get a little bit of hate. It's not going to be super memorable, but it was a solid match. Ultimately ending with a return of the Street Profits.
Yeah. The best part about it all, we've harped on it plenty. Bless you. We've harped on it plenty. The
It was a
SmackDown
rough
tag
one.
team, yeah, the SmackDown tag team division has been fantastic. And
Yes.
you can pinpoint to when the Motor City Machine Guns debuted to the real takeoff of this tag division. They are all intertwined. The logic of the Street Profits coming back, they want the titles. They're not buddy buddy with DIY. They want to be the ones to beat DIY. All of these teams mixed in, I can easily see the Street Profits getting a tag title match or facing the Machine Guns, and there's some false ending, whatever. And we get led to maybe a three-way, maybe a four-way, TLC, six team gauntlet, whatever. We are set up beautifully for a multi-team title match, either at Mania or the SmackDown right before Mania, and it's the main event.
Absolutely. You know, three, four, might be a five-way. Who knows? I'm going to assume they don't run back the tag ladder match this year. I would like to imagine it's maybe just a fatal four-way of sorts. But, you know, DIY probably champions going in. They've been feuding with the Guns. Guns will be involved. That's the fresh tag team. They've been involved in pretty deadly, you know, but then you got the Street Profits returning. And then you got Garza and Humberto. But then you got Tonga Tonga looking at the titles last night on SmackDown alongside Fatu. You got six teams. Six teams is a lot. You know, you're not going to have a six-way tag team match. Maybe they do run a gauntlet at a WrestleMania. That's the kind of gimmick match that doesn't really fit the bill for a WrestleMania, if I'm being honest. But we just said, don't get me wrong, I'm going to sound hypocritical here, but we just said you don't want to force people on the card. But this is that situation where all these tag teams have been so involved, they almost all deserve to be on this card in this match. It's shitty, maybe, but like I guess you gotta cut Humberto and Garza kind of to slow it, to go down the five teams. Then you cut someone else to go down the four. Maybe Fatu and Tamatanga do something else at WrestleMania, and that cuts a team out as well. Regardless, though, the focal point is just the tag division in general. That SmackDown tag division is absolutely stacked, and they lost a team in A Town Down Under. It's insane.
Yeah, now you'd assume soon they'll mix in the Wyatt Six.
Mm-hmm.
Easy feud for them with DIY, like
Yeah,
easy feud. And hell, a feud with the Street Profits is even, possible, can be logical if we say. Hopefully the Raw tag division starts to pick up the steam because the Raw has the tag teams. It's just like the comparison of the tag divisions, like SmackDown just feels way better right now.
yeah, it's the storytelling, the writing, everything's intertwined. You know, over on Raw, it's kind of like Judgment Day Fallout, and then the War Raiders are tag champions, and then A Town Down Under got transferred there, and that's really it.
New Day
Dragon,
aren't doing things as a
yeah,
team really yet.
yeah, not yet. You know, New Day would be honestly my choice to win the tag titles at Mania. It looks like Dragon Lee's return is imminent, so maybe him and Ray team up to some fashion. Maybe we get a new team formed, or somebody gets called up. Who knows? The options are endless, of course. But that SmackDown tag division, love it.
Yes, and they do seem to be heading towards American Made versus War Raiders for the tag titles and
Yes.
Ivy Nile versus Lyra Valkyria for the IC title. So
Mm.
there's seeds planted for the Raw tag division to pick up steam. It just the SmackDown tag division feels like it's, you know, two
A
or three
step ahead.
miles ahead right
Yeah.
now, where Raw is not bad, but SmackDown's noticeably better. Uh, Keeping it on SmackDown, the WWE Championship.
Well, man, I mean, I understand we're a month into the year, but I mean, that's the match of the year. It's the leading candidate. We got, 11 months to go, a long ways, don't get me wrong. But I find it hard to take that out of even next year's Tui's top five matches of the year. What a ladder match. Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, incredible stuff from top to bottom. Story telling, the actual match itself, the physicality, the psychology, it really is one of the best stories being told in wrestling. And it's got that kind of value. It's very prominent, but it's almost a little overshadowed just by all the other stuff going on because everything is so good right now. I just think this is one of those feuds, one of those rivalries that we are going to look back as a wrestling community in the years and go, that was some of the best stuff we ever got.
Also, just completely adds to people who are harping that Owens needs to win this match. No, like
No.
the way that match played out, the storytelling from that match, all of it, beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be done with Owens. I love Owens.
Yeah.
This isn't an anti-Owens thing at all. The story, all of it, and then on top of it, people who have tried to shit on Cody's reign, almost every title match is like that. Every title match is great.
Yeah, Cody's been putting on bangers all year as WWE champion. And like, okay, the guy won the title at WrestleMania 40. Yeah, he's probably not losing it to Styles at Backlash. I get it. It's one of the most memorable matches in ages, is
Yeah.
that match alone. And this ladder match and everything else he's done. I cannot get on board with the hate against the Cody Rhodes title run. Doesn't make any sense. People are grasping at straws trying to find something to complain about. Get it out of here.
That spot to end the match. And you mentioned the storytelling.
Yeah.
People did not give enough credit to the storytelling because it happened at Saturday night's main event and people complained about it, even though it was the right thing to do with Cody using the chair. Cody mentioned Owens crossed the line. If you think you're willing to do anything it takes, I'm willing to do anything it takes.
Mhm.
Tonight was the perfect example of him doing a goddamn Alabama slam through a ladder, a straight 2K moment. Like,
Yeah.
if 2K wants to sell their game, you take that spot and you have it cut in between real life and the animation of it in the video game because that is a video game like moment that was unreal.
Unbelievable. You know, when it comes to the physicality of an actual wrestling move, people often talk about the pile driver, the tombstone, a power bomb. The Alabama slam could be one of the more devastating moves in wrestling if you really think about it. And to do it off the announce table through a ladder, hell of a spot. Owens sold the absolute shit out of it. I don't even know if he was selling. I think he really, felt the pain on that one. And not long before that, we got a hell of a fisherman suplex off the turnbuckle, a Kevin Owens staple onto the ladder. Owens, or not Owens, Cody bounces up, falls over. Literally one of the best spots in recent memory was that superplex. And then 5 minutes later, we get the Alabama slam to the ladder. The only big thing I want to bring up in the distance during all of that is Sami Zayn. And that is a big focal point to the overall Kevin Owens arc right now. I don't predict Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes interacting a whole lot in between now and WrestleMania, but I damn sure predict Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens having a couple interactions before WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's definitely leading to something. I mean, Zayn checked up on both of them, which
Mm-hmm.
is a big thing, but also in the men's rumble, Zayn gets super kicked out by Jey Uso, whether it's on accident or not. Maybe that leads to him leaning more towards Kevin Owens' side. I don't know. Maybe that opens his eyes a little bit. Maybe Cody doing that Alabama slam to Owens makes Zayn lean more sympathetic to Owens, be more on his side. Maybe him just standing there while Cody climbs the ladder and Owens is laid lifeless and not doing anything turns Owens even more against him. That's why the storyline is so great. Again, I mentioned it. We're still going to get the Orton return at some point, whether it's to face Owens or to go for Cody. That gets factored in at some point as well. The Zayn involvement was great. The last 10 minutes of the match were so good that it, until now, made me forget how nonsensical it was that they gave away their titles and then Owens just took it back and then Cody randomly had his back and they just pretended like they never did that and then Cody just won both titles.
Sometimes like the logic under this Triple H run has been so good. And then there's other things where it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Like what the literal last like 2 weeks of booking between these guys has been hanging the titles on the rung, this title and the Winged Eagle, and we're gonna let them go. They're gonna keep them on the rung, and then Kevin Owens last night takes it away, and then Joe Tessitore promotes it as if it's still gonna be hanging, and then the match begins, and Cody Rhodes is wearing the belt on the way. I just baffling if I'm being honest. It's a good thing that it's forgettable because the match was so damn
Yeah. So great match. At that point, both of us were a little worried.
good. Mm-hmm.
That match was good. The tag match was solid. The
Yeah.
women's match was solid.
Mm-hmm.
But we were on a strong man. This is quite the predictable rumble. And the men are main eventing. Not saying we don't love Cena. Not saying we don't love Punk. I know you would have preferred a Punk win. But boy, there was some moments where we were like, man, are we really we were so excited and this rumble felt so wide open that it really is just as cut and dry as it is. And thankfully, we have been saying on this channel, it just feels too obvious. They want you to think this. It is too obvious. They're going with a curveball. A curveball is coming. Stop sitting on the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. The fastball isn't coming. You got Clayton Kershaw on the mound. He's dropping the 12-6 curveball. That's exactly what Triple H did in the main event.
It is exactly what Triple H did. I don't think it was Clayton Kershaw, though. I think you had your boy Snowden on the mound, winding up
Oh,
for that 12-6 curve. Yeah, I've been getting ready. Bring the knee up, put it down, throwing that 12-6 curve over the middle of the plate since what? Bad blood? I don't know. War games? I've been on the point with booking lately. C2 Wrestling, if you've been following us for a 6, 7 month tenure, we have been on point. We have not gotten everything correct. There's so many variables in wrestling. But the main story points over not only this Royal Rumble, but a lot of wrestling, a lot of WWE, we have hit the nail on the head, particularly Jay fucking Uso and him winning that Royal Rumble. Been calling it for ages. If you want a moment, if you want something electric, what's more electric than CM Punk winning the Royal Rumble? There is one thing, and that is all 65,000 fans in Lucas Oil Stadium yeeting up and down all across that arena, all across Indianapolis, all the way to Las Vegas when Jey Uso wins that World Heavyweight Championship. The crowd is going to go berserk.
You know, sometimes I think it's only right that we kind of peel back the curtain. We come on here, we do say a lot of things. I've got to I've got to reveal something to the people. We
Okay.
haven't quite fully been telling the truth. We have jokingly. Every time Snowden's mentioned texting with Triple H, we were like joking, but there's always some truth in jokes. Those are the best jokes, the ones that have truth behind them. So let's rewind it. Let's not even talk about the Royal Rumble. Let's rewind it to the time where everyone was complaining. Jey Uso can't win the big one. They won't put a title on Jey Uso. His own dad is complaining. Shock. And a certain Snowden of C2 Wrestling said exactly what they're gonna do is Jey Uso is going to beat Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship, and it'll probably be a short title run, and they'll kind of flip flop it. You give Jey the moment, but then he loses it. I don't know how. And then he reaches his hand out. I tag in and I say, well, we can slip into trips. They want to tie Jey back into this bloodline story. So the rematch, bloodline gets involved, probably costs Jey. Trips types back. Love it. Way to go, guys. Fast forward a little bit. The seeds keep getting planted. Snowden just keeps texting. Papa H, just remember what I said. Hey, Papa H, I know you're thinking about Pepsi Phil. Hey, Papa H, I know you're promoting Cena for the chamber. You can have him win the chamber. Papa H, remember what I said. And all Triple H did, he sent a blurred message, wiped it away, and it was just a smiley face.
It really has been as far back as pre SummerSlam that we have booked the Jey Uso run to a T with the IC title, that he is going to get his moment. And that moment, as I said back then, was a test. Let's see how over Jey Uso really is with the crowd, how over he can be with a singles title. And I remember saying he's going to hold it for a month, couple weeks to a month, flip flop it back to Braun Breaker. It only doubles down that dog in Braun Breaker by having him lose the IC title and then coming back stronger than ever and winning it again. Jey Uso has his moment. You flip him back to SmackDown. We weren't the only ones predicting new bloodline versus old bloodline at War Games, but I'll tell you who did predict it: C2 Wrestling as well. Put that on paper. Yeah, there was some involvement from CM Punk, our boy Pepsi Phil. There was some involvement from some others around, don't get me wrong. But we've been booking it ever since that IC title run. Who better to win the Royal Rumble than the fan favorite Jey Uso. And they did it. They did it. They didn't strike when the iron was hot. They listened to C2 wrestling.
I love Punk, and I absolutely love night one main event CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns in a triple H in a triple threat. And I've got some thoughts about that I'll say in a second. But we both felt when Punk did that interview in the crowd with Jackie Redmond, we were like, man, that's a promo. That's a promo that the Royal Rumble winner gives.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got another Punk promo,
Yeah.
and another,
Yeah.
and another, and another. And Cena hasn't been there, and they are hammering Cena for the chamber. And everyone is so sold on it. And we said, it just feels too obvious. And it was the right thing to do. Now, Mania, you even mentioned it in our live stream. We love Jay. This is a Gunther Stan account. Realistically, that is a title match that you can have either open a show or be in the middle of a show or even, a co-main event. They love last year, they booked it as four main events,
Yeah.
whatever, 5 minute, whatever the hell they were saying. It's exactly what they'll do this year. They'll say it's six main events, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That match won't close the show. It'll be a main event. It just won't close the show.
Yeah. And, the discourse is always going to happen. Every WrestleMania, the woman deserved the main event. The woman deserved this. It's all about the storytelling of what's going on in wrestling. And the hottest things leading into WrestleMania is your WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, who likely takes on an Elimination Chamber winning John Cena. Maybe Randy Orton still comes back and turns heel. On the flip side, you got CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins all getting eliminated together in this Royal Rumble, really leading us to believe we're getting a triple threat between those three. How they make it happen, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins get set up to be one-on-one. Paul Heyman owes CM Punk a favor. That favor is the WrestleMania main event. CM Punk finds his way into that match, makes it a triple threat. Night one, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. Night two, Cody Rhodes versus right now, it's up in the air. That leads me to believe that Jey Uso versus Gunther likely opens night one, which is okay. It is perfectly fine. The entirety of both of those nights is going to be stacked. Main event this, main event that. Main event Jey Uso opens the show versus Gunther, night one. I do have to bring up, now this is a Gunther Stan account, okay? We love Gunther here. I want Gunther to hold the world championship for the rest of eternity. Does he lose the championship? Part of me, yes, I'm obviously leaning that way. But if Gunther is just going to every time lose the title at WrestleMania, at what point, okay, do you kind of get off that wave a little bit? This is the second time, don't get me wrong, but feels a little like, all right, to just keep building up Gunther to have him lose like the big, big one at WrestleMania. But again, when you have a guy as over as Jey Uso, how do you not? How do you
Yeah,
not?
and to be fair, he's beat Jay a million times, so
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it's fine in that aspect. Uh, I don't think Jay's gonna have a crazy long title run.
Not me neither.
Jay is
Nope.
so great as a chaser
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't need these long title runs. But at the same time, if we remember Jay's entrance in Lyon, France,
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
faced Damian Priest for the world title,
yeah.
Jey Uso going in as world heavyweight champion in Lyon, France, or this time in Paris, France. That's an even crazier
I mean,
entrance. When before he won, I said on the live stream, Jey Uso opening Monday Night Raw this Monday. It'll be insane if he wins. It's going to be nuts if he
that's
opens I would assume he opens the show. The crowd
yeah.
is going to be unreal. He deserves to win. This is a Gunther Stan account. I'm going to pick Gunther. It's the same thing as like I'll never not pick the Eagles.
Yeah, yeah.
I know how things go. I do. I want to talk about Punk Rollins Reigns for a
Mm-hmm.
minute, um, because I do have a strong thought on that.
Okay.
I do agree with you. Punk Rollins Reigns gets set up with the favor gets involved here. shoehorns into the main event makes perfect sense. This might not be the popular thing, and this isn't even like, man, I'm riding for this guy. This is why I need this to happen. But Seth Rollins deserves to win this match.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I was actually going to ask, book it right now, triple threat WrestleMania night one. Who do you have win? It's party who wants to say Roman because it's Roman Reigns. How do you not have the greatest of all time win? But then you got a guy like CM Punk who has built himself back to literally the best in the world. But I don't know if anyone deserves the win more than Seth Rollins. He has been through the ringer. He has really been like the glue of the company for years. And he deserves his big Mania main event moment and win, maybe more than anybody else. So many ways they can go about it. I think the story of, Punk kind of shoehorning his way in with the favor via Paul Heyman. Rollins this entire time, oh, I finally had my one-on-one match with Roman, and now you're cramping my style. Definitely keeps those two at odds. I think it's incredible. I think we can officially rule out The Rock for WrestleMania. I'd like to imagine that is not happening. If it was going to, it would have tonight. That would have been the official setup, whether it's Roman or Cody, whatever it may be. Roman seems on board. Seth seems on board. Punk seems on board. All three of these guys have been putting on clinics as of late. It's very well match of the year, honestly.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Rollins hasn't had like big moments or
Of
like,
course, yeah.
he had the Money in the Bank cash and he's had multiple world
He won an
titles.
IC
He's had,
title, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like he's had Mania main events just based off of what he did at last year's Mania with
Mm,
dropping to Drew, losing in the tag match, wrestling on literally like half a knee
yeah.
to come back, lose again, kind of play second fiddle to the Drew Punk story, even though we know the main story going in was Punk Rollins, to then finally have the Punk Rollins match at Netflix and lose that. Not to mention, I know he's never lost to Roman, but Roman's always gotten the bigger spots over him.
Correct.
It's not like, we're not going to be foolish and pretend like Roman hasn't had the more main events and stuff like that, even when they face the same guys.
Mm,
Seth deserves it. Punk deserves the main event.
yes.
He deserves to finally get that WrestleMania main event. Roman Reigns, a guy who literally doesn't need to win or lose. He's Roman Reigns. He is as set can be. You can still after that lead to the Roman Punk one-on-one. That is a money match in itself. Another Punk Rollins one-on-one. The eventual once again one-on-one of Reigns Rollins. All of those matches can still happen after. Rollins deserves the win.
Rollins absolutely deserves the win. Hell, I think he should pin Roman in it too. Not that pinning Punk is a bad thing. That's a crazy guy to get a win over. But I want Rollins to get that win, and I want it to be as big as it could be. And hell, that's pinning Roman Reigns, a guy that's only taken so many pins in his last few years. We are really shaping up for a absolutely stacked WrestleMania, just leading out of this Royal Rumble that we saw tonight. Not every elimination, as you said, is going to build towards a match. But it's looking like Tiffany Charlotte. It's looking like we still get Bianca, Jade, Naomi in some mix. It's looking like we got this triple threat between Roman, Punk, Rollins. Cody faces whoever wins the chamber. Maybe it's John Cena. Looks like we are maybe getting Logan Paul versus Styles, Drew versus Priest. Who really knows where they go with a lot of these kind of side angles? Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn still not in the mix quite yet. Every year, honestly, we, say this is maybe going to be the best Mania ever. 38, 39, 40 is the best three Manias of all time, in my opinion. And they're in a row, they're collective. And I don't think that is stopping yet. 41 is really shaping up to be maybe better and bigger than WrestleMania 40 was. And that is crazy to say.
It's a unreal run of manias. We have been talking about how excited we've been for Mania just from this Rumble alone. The names in the Rumble, what we knew would come from the Rumble. We mentioned it like not every story for Mania gets set up in the Rumble, but a
Hmm.
good amount of them you get a good idea. The best example is the way Punk, Rollins, and Reigns all went out, and like I know you weren't fond of it, but it makes you forget that Logan was the one that
Yeah.
eliminates Punk because they just
Yeah.
immediately get into the three of them going insane on the outside.
Well, to elaborate why I'm not fond of it is because in our Rumble pool, I had number 24. I had CM Punk,
Yeah.
so I was really hoping for CM Punk win so I could cash out a little bit. But it's okay. This was the next best thing. I would have been wildly disappointed had John Cena won or somebody. No shade to Cena. He's the GOAT. But Jey Uso, man, gotta hit it again for our boy. An incredible event, top to bottom, with so much to look forward to. Monday Night Raw, like you said, I'm hoping Jey Uso opens the show. Friday Night SmackDown, NXT still around. There's just so much to look forward to right now. And not only wrestling and not only WWE, but right here on YouTube. C2 Wrestling. Where else are you going to get the dirt sheet spoilers of what's to come? If you're not following CTD and Snowden on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, and subscribing on YouTube, notifications on. We were live tonight. We were live last week for Saturday night's main event. We're going to be live again. So you got to be here to enjoy the fun.
We'll be live for the Elimination Chamber. At least I think. I got to double check my schedule.
Yeah.
Monday Night Raw is going to be insane. I am so hyped for it. I have this weird feeling though, before Raw, we might get something special. I got a gut feeling something's going to pop up on YouTube. I don't know what it is. Something in my loins tells me Monday's going to be special. So you might want to keep your eyes and ears peeled.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of wrestling content, we post a lot of that. So, I mean, there might be something. I don't know. I don't know. But you gotta be subscribed to find out.
Exactly. So hopefully you've made it this far. And if you have made it this far and you're a C2 fan, guess we'll find out Monday.
It was a terrible heart.
Do it,
C2
do it,
Rest.
do it like the kids nowadays.
How do they do that? What the fuck? With the middle finger?
Yep. Yeah. There you go.
Wow, is that
The
really how they do it? Oh my God,
yeah.
that's like awkward. That like hurts
So
my
they do it
hands.
nowadays.
Yeet. Ah.